Do what you see, be like a battery. I'm staying charged on my feet, I'm like a factory. Dropping lines like an assembly. I'm staying on point, it's my strategy. Feel like they tracking me.
Hey, and welcome to Zooka Tube. This is a new podcast. This is our first episode. I was previously on a podcast called Podcast for the Recently Released, and I am taking everything and kind of continuing it on this central channel. Now, this channel is going to be everything from video game reviews, movie reviews, TV show reviews. We're going to go into a lot of like trailer breakdowns. We'll do a little bit of everything on this channel. I'll probably put a couple different playlists on there, and I'll go through and do a bunch of different categories of stuff for you as the weeks go on. Probably every few days, weekly, just constantly as new things pop up, I will be uploading them and having my take or my review on what is happening. Now, alert to everybody, this episode will contain spoilers, as well as we're going to be going into a trailer breakdown. So for the first episode today, we're going to go into Castlevania Season 4. Now, this is great. It's an end to the season, so I'm really excited. And it's an end to the story in general, so this is going to be awesome to go into. We're going to go into Jupiter's Legacy on Netflix right now as well, and then obviously the Venom 2 trailer breakdown. So this is going to be really cool. I'm excited to kind of get into this with you guys, and let me know what you guys think of the episode after you watch it, and definitely like, comment, share, and subscribe, all that jazz. Now, let's get into this whole deal. We'll start off with Jupiter's Legacy. Now, this is like a really, really cool show on Netflix. Just came out. I binged all the way through it, so I'm not going to do an episode-to-episode review with a lot of shows like that are on Netflix, especially because they leave it for you to binge. They don't really do an episode-to-episode thing. So with anything for Netflix, I'll probably just review the season as a whole. This is really cool take on things. It's kind of, I would say, in between what you're seeing with the Disney hero shows and then some of the more darker shows, like when you see like Invincible and The Boys and stuff like that, which I've reviewed a bunch of stuff on there. If you go through old episodes of podcasts for the recently released, you'll be able to see all kinds of stuff like that as well. Now, I'm going to give you a basic rundown for Jupiter's Legacy, right? It's pretty cool. It starts off, and it's a generation of superheroes, right? They keep the world safe for 90 years. This starts back in like the 20s when this whole thing kind of kicks off, right? But now, like, the years are different. The world's changing. The enemies are getting stronger. It's time for a new generation of superheroes to accept the legacy of their fathers and to continue their work based on morality and justice. And there's a group of heroes called the Union of Justice, right? I'm going to give you like a little peek of their little costumes here. Really cool costumes. All the characters have really, really neat costumes and stuff. Now, the main characters here in this, there's quite a few characters when you watch this, because obviously there's 6 heroes. And but they only go into a few in particular that are like the real center focus here. And that's the main character, Sheldon, who's the Utopian, who's kind of like the Superman figure. He's kind of the beacon of hope. He's the one that kind of keeps the group together and tries to keep the code. Basically, their code is very much Batman-like, where they're not killing anyone and stuff like that. But then also the Superman aspect, where they're a beacon of hope, for the world, for the country, but they don't get involved in like politics or anything like that. Now, the other characters are his brother, Walter, Brainwave, that I showed you in the one photo here. He's on the right. Utopian's right here in the middle. And then his wife, Grace, Lady Liberty, is right here on the left. Now, they also have his son, Brandon, who's the Paragon, and his daughter, Chloe. Now, it's really cool to see all these different characters, because the other characters in this group also have like the typical, almost like ones like the Flash and stuff like that. We got the guy, he's the Flare. We got the Blue Bolt. We got Skyfox as well. And Skyfox is a guy that's not around anymore. They kind of hint that he may have passed away, or they think he passed away. And he has a son named Hutch, who in the story develops a relationship with Chloe. And obviously there's other things going on with him and things surrounding his father and what, there's a lot of things with his father that are a little complicated. You really have to watch to kind of understand what's going on, what happened to him, and what, even though he's not there, what problems the Union of Heroes is facing, or the Union of Justice is facing. And I'm going to kind of give you a little spoiler of how this ends here, because I'm assuming that after I said there was spoilers, you guys have already watched this, and that, or you just want to find out what I think about it and you don't care about spoilers. But either way, right? So basically at the end, Black Star, this villain character, he escapes, right? While Walter and Sheldon's older brother, they kind of struggle, to become like, okay, so there's this weird situation where Walter is kind of going into Black Star's conscious, a clone of Black Star, the villain that died in the story when the son basically kills him. And that's a big dilemma because, that sets off the whole main dilemma of the story of the children trying to own up to what their father or their mother was, and, trying to live up to that code in a new world where things are totally different, right? They show in the conscious of this character, the character Skyfox that's missing and they think is dead, is in his mind, and they set it up almost like it's a trap, and that they kind of show him as like the main villain who eventually gets stopped by Sheldon and the Union. However, as the episode ends, a hidden ulterior motive, right, of one of the characters is revealed, and it's actually the brother Brainwave, who kind of set up the whole thing. And it kind of gets a little confusing in a sense that, like, you don't know if this Skyfox character is really alive or it's a fabric of his consciousness that he put in there during this to kind of throw people off at the end. But either way, it's a really cool situation. And just by me telling you this ending, if you haven't seen this, it really doesn't kind of go into the rest of the show. The rest of the show is a big kind of constant, just opportunity for character development and understanding the relationships of these characters and how deep they go, rather than kind of going through big story arcs with villains and stuff like that. And then you also get the origin story of the original six. So basically it starts off, and the main character, Sheldon, it's great. It's in the 20s. He works for his father with his brother in this big company that's basically helped out a lot of the country, and they provide a lot to the city they're in as well. And when the stock market crashes, basically the father commits suicide in front of Sheldon, and it kind of makes him go crazy. He has a psychotic break, and he's constantly seeing these visions of his father talking to him, and all these different symbols, an island, all these people. Some of the people are familiar, some aren't. And he kind of dives in and just decides to go for it at one point. And throughout that thing, it goes back from those periods of time to modern day, where the current characters are in dilemmas, fighting together, fighting apart, having their own personal issues with relationships and stuff like that, and how society sees them, all those different things. And then it constantly goes and flashes back to Sheldon's journey, right? And him getting this original six together, which eventually towards the end, they finally show them getting to this island, kind of getting put through a trial, and they all kind of have to work together to pass this trial, and then they get granted their abilities. That's how they get their abilities. It kind of teleport. Like, this island is almost like not even an island. It's almost like a sentient being, and it puts them through all these crazy paranormal and abnormal situations. They overcome them, and basically it teleports them, or opens a door that teleports them to, I guess, Jupiter, hence the name of the show. And they all, get granted these abilities. They go back and they decide to basically fight for Earth and, their country and, just their fellow man in general, and be good people and try to do the right thing with what they've been given, because of, how much of the right thing they had to do and how much they had to find within each other and squash problems within each other to even get these powers to begin with. So really interesting story. It's a lot of character development. So like, if you're expecting it to be nonstop action and all that kind of stuff, you are not going to get that from it. But I wanted to save a clip and stuff like that, because there's a lot of aspects that I really love about this show, and it kind of gives you an idea of who Sheldon is and what kind of sets him off about what's happening in his life. And there's like a good amount of comedy to it and stuff like that. Like I was dying at this one clip. Here, let me play this clip so you guys could see what I'm talking about.
There's one hell of a headline. Well, guess what? You rotten little Marxists! Capitalism made this building. It made your homes, and it made your cars. And my father made the steel that built everything that makes this country the greatest in the world. And what do, huh?
Yeah, what do you do, huh? So it was really, there's a couple aspects, where it's very old-timey, and you see that whole aspect of his life. And it does carry on as him as an old man, and the way he handles his family and the way he handles his peers. And it's just a really cool show and an interesting take in general. It's a little bit slower. I found myself at times because of the dialogue and the developing of these relationships kind of getting a little, snoozy, because I watch this stuff late at night. So I had to watch it a couple times on certain random ends of episodes or in-betweens during, major discussions or through certain characters where I wasn't as interested in them. You know what I mean? Overall, though, I would give this show and this first season like a solid 7.5. Like it's pretty good, and it's really interesting the way these characters get their origin and the way they're handling things in the present day and what you're going to see in the future with this younger generation that's involved heavily as well during this time. So I had a really good time watching this. I definitely suggest, if you haven't already checked this out, to definitely check this out. I don't know when they're going to potentially have a second season or if they got approved for a second season even, but it would be obviously great to see for sure. The next show I want to go into is going to be Castlevania Season 4. Now, I'm really excited to talk about Castlevania Season 4 because I'm a huge Castlevania fan. I've played pretty much all of the games so far, at least all of the decent ones that have come out, that's for sure. There's been some not so good Castlevania games, as well as some of, the great classics like, Symphony of the Night and stuff like that. So it's a really cool season. Just came out on Netflix. This one's 10 episodes, and they're 20 something minutes a piece and stuff like that. I think it was the first season was only like four episodes, I believe, or something like that. So I'm like really excited that they at least did that. You could kind of watch them. They're a little shorter, so you could have a little fun going through in your spare time and watching them more often. Now, I'm going to give you a basic summary of this whole entire season. I'm not going to go too much into it with certain things because there's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of characters to dive into, and we can talk forever about that. So basically, let me see here what we got. It starts off with Trevor and Cypher, right? They're riding around in the countryside, battling night creatures, and they end up slaying a vampire who's casting a spell to resurrect Dracula by basically calling upon death. And these, it sucks to have to kill Dracula. And then, God damn it, next thing you know, everybody's trying to resurrect the guy. And that's one thing you're going to notice in this season. Everybody's trying to resurrect Dracula, and you're like, God damn, dude, this could go on forever. But I guess that does kind of drive for a good story at the same time. But you're going to see how obviously that all plays out when you watch this season if you already haven't. Obviously, again, spoiler alert. So after that, right, they go back to Targoviste, or however you pronounce it. They go back to the original town from the first season, right? They find a ton of vamps. They got to do some fighting, the whole deal, right? Then you go over to Alucard, and he's being called upon by a messenger from Dynasty, I believe that's how it's said, to fight off, a bunch of night creatures that are storming into their town and stuff. So he decides to go and do that, right? Then they go back, and, Trevor, he's making his hammer to make more creatures for the Sisterhood, because we saw before Lenore kind of turned him into, like, his pet, during that creepy sex scene thing they had at the end, which was pretty wild, right? And then, they show Camilla. She's trying to pretty much take over the world and feed on the humans and cause mass destruction and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's really neat. You see Saint Germain, who basically got trapped, before. He's back. and he's in Dynasty, and he's still on his whole mission, but like he's not trapped as before. And I guess they don't really clarify exactly how that went, but he's a little bit different now. He's changed quite a bit, and he's not quite the ally that you think he is, you know. Then it goes over and you see Isaac, right, and his army. They basically at one point travel to the Sisterhood's castle, and they take him down. They whoop everybody's ass, and it ends up getting to a point where he defeats Camilla. Well, you know, he's going to defeat Camilla, and she just is like, nah, man, screw you. You ain't getting me. I'm getting me. And she kills herself. It's pretty epic fashion. Everything is really epic looking in this, you know, really great like animation overall. Then you get to see the trio get back together. You get to see Sypha, Trevor, Alucard, and everything back at the castle because they're going to fight Trigon's forces. And Zed reveals herself to be Death, kind of there in disguise the whole time, which is really cool. And you get that big fight with Trevor versus Death. And it's really cool to see, like, he uses this knife that he finds. He ends up killing him, and they were going to use this like a host body to resurrect Dracula, and it's like this weird like combination of dead people that like it's like a weird hermaphrodite thing. It's bizarre, but either way, it's some kind of old ancient lore and alchemy and stuff like that too, so it's interesting to check into. But Trevor gets a chance and kills the host body, and basically Trevor has a big showdown with Death. And the big showdown it's awesome, and you get to basically see him use that blade, like I had said, and kill this creature. Because Death, it's not really that Death is like just the Grim Reaper. I guess it's technically like a vampiric character that just feeds on Death. It's kind of like how you see each vampire have different abilities. Like you see Alucard, who has a wolf form, a bat form, and stuff like that. It's basically that kind of situation. And then Trevor kind of, you know, they assume that they show that he disappears upon like killing Death and that whole thing. And they basically fast forward and everybody assumes he's dead. And they show Sypha walking around and stuff. And you know, then Trevor basically finds her, or she finds him, kind of deal. And you find out that she's pregnant. Now, I don't know if that's going to be with basically the Simon Belmont, if they're going to, you know, potentially ever do a spin-off of this story and show that character, if they ever decide to continue it. But people have said, and I guess the creators have said, that this is the end of this series. So I guess anything else would have to be like a spin-off or something of that nature, right? You see Lenore, she commits suicide. I had forgot to mention that happened a little bit earlier when Isaac storms the castle and that whole deal. And then at the end, you see that Dracula and Lisa somehow escape the Infinite Corridor, and they're kind of laying low together. You know, they don't want to reveal themselves to their son and all that kind of stuff. They're just kind of going to let this play out for a little while, especially because obviously his son, Alucard's been going through all kinds of shit ever since the end of the last season, where you see those two people who finally he thought that he made peace with and had like a semi-partnership with kind of try to kill him, and he kind of was losing it for a hot minute. But really, really awesome season. Like this season is so good, and the way they end this, like if this is really the end of a series, it's a great end of a series. It's pretty awesome, like overall, and like I don't mind being left kind of hanging with the Dracula Lisa thing, because then that kind of shows you, and the baby thing, which means that they could at any time make this series again like a spin-off series and have it years and years in the future, where like let's say Simon Belmont is pretty grown up, and you know, let's say Dracula and Lisa decide to kind of come out of hiding, or anything, you know, it can kind of go in any direction, or they can kind of go with a spin-off in like a Devil May Cry kind of aspect and go that direction, which would be really awesome. But definitely check this out. I'm going to show you guys a little clip of the action in this, just so you can kind of get an idea, if you haven't seen this, of like what you're gonna see in this, because it's awesome. Everything, like, it's kind of 3D at times too. It's really neat. Check this out. yeah, that's fucking awesome, right? Like, so good. The action the whole time. Every fight scene they do in this show is so good. So, like, you absolutely, if you haven't watched this, you got to check it out. But I'm assuming, once again, I'm giving you the spoilers here. I'm reviewing these episodes, so I'm hoping you guys have watched it. If not, definitely I'm trying to leave a lot of things out so you still get to, if you do watch it, see a lot of stuff that I didn't even talk about to make sure it's still interesting to you guys. Obviously, I give away the end stuff, but it's just so good. I would give this season like a 9 out of 10. Honestly, like, it's really, really good. I had a great time watching it, and I'm a little upset that it's over, but I don't care. It was really good. A great ending. It ain't no Game of Thrones ending bullshit kind of deal. Really awesome. Definitely check this one out. Now we're going to go into Venom, right? This one is really, really cool. Really fun. I'm going to play the trailer for you guys before I kind of get into it and talk about it. I kind of have like a general idea watching it, what we might see, might not see. But definitely this is really cool trailer. I feel like Sony does really good trailers in general. Like, do you feel like the MCU trailers are a little bit just kind of cheesy? And then you watch like the Sony trailers, they try to make them quite a bit like darker or quite a bit more like epic fashion. At least I feel like the Disney commercials for like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier are a little just like kind of bubblegum or something like that. But here, let's watch this trailer real quick. This shit's pretty funny.
I say either, you say either, I say neither, and I say neither, neither. Let's call the whole thing off.
Here, let's take the background stuff off.
Catch up.
Excuse me?
Yummy.
Good evening, Eddie.
Hey, Mrs. Chen.
Good evening, Venom.
Function Hall, Mrs. Chen.
He says hi.
There's Stan Lee on that magazine.
Is the loneliest number that you'll ever do.
I've been thinking about you, Eddie.
Two can be as bad as one. It's the loneliest number.
Because you and I are the same.
Typical villain type.
Every
Same.
decision
You and I.
we ever make. Who do we leave behind? And how do we leave them? Waiting in the darkness for the rescuer who never comes. Welcome back, Eddie Brock. It's been a long time.
Oh
I
snap.
miss you so much.
The hair's better. A lot more like the comics. Just messy. Oh shit.
Chaos.
Oh, there's Shriek.
Chaos soon come.
Wow, what a shot.
Is the loneliest number that you'll ever do.
The chocolate delivery hasn't arrived yet.
No!
We had a deal.
What's gonna happen? You gonna stop protecting me?
I am happy to eat, Mrs. Chen.
No, you cannot eat, Mrs. Chen.
What?
Nothing?
Wow. What an awesome shot right there. All right, so let's go back into this here. Let's bring this all back up here for everybody. Oh, man. That's a really great trailer. I don't know what you guys think, but that was a pretty awesome trailer. It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, basically, from what I know, this is coming out September 24th, from what it says. That'll be this year, and you got the main characters here. Obviously, Tom Hardy's going to be Venom, Woody Harrelson's Carnage, and it shows Naomi Harris as Shriek in there. You saw those couple shots of Shriek. That'll be really cool because they're like a classic couple. I got a little picture here of them in the comics, you know. It's a shot in the comics where you see Deadpool. He's in the actual image, and if you pull the original from this thumbnail I have, and it's basically him like with his face all fried off. But it's really cool. It'll be neat to show if like she comes into it, probably towards the end or something, you know. And they have some kind of clash with Venom or whatever. But obviously the Venom Carnage thing is a classic thing from the comics. You see, you know, plenty of stuff in the comics of them kind of battling it out, you know, at some point. And it's really cool. But basically in this one, you know, it starts out back in San Francisco again, right? And they're just like a bad buddy couple. You know, they're just living together at Brock and Venom. But like, you know, kind of for the most part, they still have obviously their difficulties you were seeing with kind of funny stuff with the breakfast, and then the funny stuff with the lady from the convenience store and all that kind of shit, right? They show Brock visiting Cletus Cassidy in jail. Like, still, you know, they showed that little preview at the end where he visits him. Well, he's still apparently going to visit him. And I guess it's because he has remaining victims that nobody has found. And he's trying to, I guess, reference with those drawings on Cassidy's wall. And he's trying to find, you know, the answers to this, I guess, to maybe bring peace to the families or whatever, as well as probably to report on it and all that kind of stuff. You see a little reference to the Avengers in the newspaper shot, and when he's looking through those drawings, you see the Daily Bugle on the computer there. So that's pretty cool. It's syncing up a little bit with the MCU. I don't know. They also showed that reference where Woody Harrelson like squashes the spider, kind of like hinting at Spider-Man or whatever. But I don't know if they're gonna like do a like all-out direct SpiderMan reference. They probably don't even have to with just enough references to know you're in that world, like they're doing in this trailer. But they show Ravencroft, you know, they show a shot of Shriek, you know, that becomes Carnage's kind of like love interest or whatever in the comics. I'm sure like probably Carnage is going to go in, break her out. It's going to be this big thing. Venom's going to have to come and kind of help the scenario and try to lock these people back up, or it's going to be a big clash at that point with maybe the Shriek character and the Carnage character and a couple other people. I don't know exactly where that's going to go, but that'll be really cool to see. They show a great shot of Carnage like manifesting his weapons and all the stuff coming out of him and everything like that. So that'll be cool. He's got his like original kind of powers and all that, where he can make like axes and saws and all that stuff. They show a great shot of Carnage basically spreading out in front of the stained glass window at a church. And I'm guessing that's going to be probably a fight with Eddie Brock and Venom, or where basically Brock's trying to use the sound to fight him, which I don't know if obviously that's going to hurt Venom in the process as well, or if Shriek's going to come into play with that too in that fight because of the whole... I don't know how that's going to go, but that I'm assuming is why he would be in the church. Either that or they're just going to make like a really scary scene where he's at a church messing people up or something. But I definitely would go more towards the fight using the sound, probably church bells and stuff like that. Definitely not in the manner that they did in Spider-Man 3. That's for damn sure, I hope. But so I also hope they go a bit into Cassidy's origin story, you know, with him, you know, killing his family members, you know, getting put into an orphanage, causing all the destruction in the orphanage, his kind of downward spiral, him killing animals in the backyard as a kid, you know, the whole kind of deal. I hope they go into a little bit of that and show you that kind of stuff, because that would be really awesome. But let me know what you guys think of this trailer. This trailer I thought was really good, and I can't wait to see this movie. I thought the first one was all right. Like, it was good. It was a fun movie. But this looks way better than the first one, and I'm hoping that it is as good as it looks for sure. But that about wraps it up for today's episode. That's all the things I have to talk about for the first episode today. Hope you guys kind of enjoyed that, going through those reviews. If you kind of want me to go into anything a little bit more in depth, I could obviously maybe make the separate playlists where I really dive into, you know, the comic lore behind some of these shows, or just way more like into the substance of these characters themselves. But let me know what you think in general. Overall, though, I don't think I've given as good of a review for a show in a minute that I did for Castlevania Season 4. I mean, we obviously loved the previous seasons of Castlevania, But and everybody in general seems to love it. But this one's really good. It's probably my favorite season so far. 9 out of 10. Definitely also check out Jupiter's Legacy, and also Superman and Lois should be back soon. And I had previously done reviews on everything up to this point. I guess it's the half season break, but that's going to be back, and I'm excited to dive into that. That I review on a episode basis, like episode to episode. I obviously love Superman. I'm a huge Smallville guy, and this show is delivering. Definitely. The trailer that they had, that is like a kind of sneak peek thing. You saw a couple clips. I think there's a full trailer out. I'll probably dive into that on the next episode I do, and really just kind of try to theorize like what's gonna happen in this season. And I know I got a little bit before that comes back out, so we could probably do a little bit of that and have a fun dive into that. But that's it for the first episode. This is Zooka Tube. You can follow me on YouTube. I'll be up on Apple Podcasts soon as well with the audio version of this. But obviously, if you want to get the full effect, you want to watch it here on YouTube, and so you can see all these clips that I go into. But let's see. All right. Wait, I was frozen for a second. Did you guys see that? I don't know if it actually goes through, but when I was looking, I was frozen on the screen like, bah. Well, either way, everybody have a wonderful night.
Do what you see like a battery. I'm staying charged on my feet. I'm like a factory. Dropping lines like an assembly. I'm staying on point. It's my strategy. Feel like they tracking me. Yo, let me get on one. Nah, go get your tracks up. Homie, can I steal some? Homie, you can't stack up. My brother, can you shout me? You're barking up the wrong tree. My dog, why do you doubt me? Cause you can't do shit without me.
Real like the radio and never play it, but that's cool. The enemy's supposed to hate it.